Hey everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. What if I told you that planting zucchinis and cucumbers early in the season might not be the best advice? Some experienced growers love to wait until later in the season, in particular late June, to get their crops in the ground for good reason. So I'm going to put that advice to the test today by taking you with me as I go out into my raised bed garden and sowing some cucumber and zucchini seeds. What experienced gardeners have been recommending is that you hold off on planting those until about this time of the year in my Zone 6 garden, because waiting to plant these seeds, plant these plants, can help you avoid common pests and insects that are really prominent early in the season, and can help ward off a lot of those other kind of diseases that love to attack these types of plants. Before I share with you which varieties of cucumbers and zucchinis I'm going to be growing in my raised bed garden this year, I'm going to invite everybody out there to please like and subscribe to my channel. Doing that helps me grow my channel, it helps me connect with more amazing gardeners just like you. And for those of you that have been watching my videos and supporting my channel, thank you so much for coming back. So today we're going to be planting Epic Gardening seed, and I got this seed free when I purchased 4 new Epic Gardening Birdies raised beds. I got a whole packet of seeds. I don't know how many, probably I'd say close to 50 different types of seed. And so I'm trying a bunch of new seed this year for the first time, because if you watch my channel, I love to experiment and give different seed companies a chance. So today it's going to be all about this Epic Gardening seed. All right, let's talk about the cucumber. I like to grow English style cucumbers. They're long and slender and they have very few seeds. And so this variety is called burpless, and the variety is called tender green. So let me tell you how they describe it. Classically crisp, thin skin with a sweet, acidity-free flavor. All right. Cucumbers, we know, need full sun. They need to be grown in warm weather, and this cucumber will be ready to harvest in only 55 to 63 days. So it's perfect. Here we are towards the end of June. I have a long growing season where I live. I can grow things all the way through the month of September. So not a problem at all waiting until this time of year to get the cucumber seed in the ground. And in fact, I'm going to do succession planting, which means I'm going to grow half of my trellis with cucumber seeds. I'm going to start today and I'm going to wait 2 more weeks, come back out to the garden and sow the rest of the seed on the rest of the trellis so that I don't get a million cucumbers all at once. Okay, the other crop I'm going to sow today would be my zucchini crop, and this is, of course, as I said, Epic Gardening seed, summer squash, and the name of this variety is called Coco Zell. I mean, with a name like that, it's got to be great, right? All right, here's how they describe this particular zucchini. It is the striped sensation, dark green heirloom squash with light streaks, widely known for their firm 8 to 10 inch fruit. Needs full sun, needs to be in warm weather, perfect to plant now, and it only takes 50 days till harvest. So both the cucumber and the zucchini grow really fast in my garden. So I love that even better. The other thing that I'll tell you a little bit about before we go out there is both types of seeds. You're supposed to sow them about a half an inch deep, half an inch to an inch deep. They sprout really quick. Let's see, the zucchini is supposed to sprout in 5 to 10 days, and the cucumber 5 to 15 days. And again, one of the benefits by waiting until late June is because for sure my soil has warmed up really well for the year. And what that will do for your germination, it'll speed it up. So rather than trying to sow these in early summer or late spring, where sometimes, we have cooler temperatures, the soil's a bit cooler. Now, for sure, by late June, in my mid-Missouri garden, my soil is nice and warm. So hopefully the germination will be quick. And so I'll only have to be really careful in making sure the seeds don't dry out for about 5 or 6 days. And I'm hoping I'm going to see some germination. All right, I've got a couple of plant tags here and my marker. So I want to go ahead and make my plant tags before we head out into the raised bed garden. And, it's not necessary, but for me, I can't remember what I've grown, what varieties I've grown, unless I make sure I tag them. And also, I happen to have quite a lot of folks want to come and do garden tours here. And so if they're asking me, what type of zucchini, Belle? And I'm like, I don't know, let's check the tag out. So tags help me. And also, I am one of those kind of organized gardeners that keeps lots of notes. And I want to know the variety because I keep notes on how well things did. And if this is really amazing, this crop, then I want to purchase this seed again next year. So it just really helps me remember. All right, so I've got my plant tags. Next up, we're going to go out in the raised bed garden and we are going to get the seed in the ground. I'll tell you a little bit more about it once I'm planting. The other thing you want to stay tuned for towards the end of the video, I'm going to give everybody an update on my pinching project. I did a whole video on how important it is to pinch your cut flowers that you might be growing and things like tomatoes. So we're going to make sure I show you around the raised bed garden and give you an update on how those plants are looking, because I pinched them early so that they would bush out, have more flowers, have more fruit, and a bigger harvest. All right, I've chosen this bed to grow my cucumbers in because it has a beautiful arched trellis that my husband made for me out of cattle panel. And let me tell you what's in here already that's growing and doing really well. Down the center of this archway, I have two different varieties of potatoes. I have Kennebec and I have Yukon Gold. And I'll bring the camera around and a little closer for you all to see. On this side of the trellis, I have green beans, and let me see what variety. Blue Lake, and that's an epic gardening seed as well, and they're doing great. And so the green beans will grow up this side of the trellis, and up this side will be our cucumbers. Those of you that follow my channel also know how much I love to intersperse herbs throughout my entire raised bed garden, whether I'm growing cut flowers in that bed or lots of different types of veggies. And you can see maybe down here I've got lots of Italian flatleaf parsley, and I also grow French style marigolds throughout the garden because that's the only type of marigold that's really been shown to ward off pests. So just a little update on that. If you're new to my channel, that's also what you're seeing in the corners here. All right, so this is where I'm going to place my seed. And again, I mentioned I'm going to do succession sowing for my cucumbers. So I am going to sow seed about halfway down this archway, and 2 weeks later I'm going to come in and then I'm going to sow the rest of the seed down here. So this will grow and produce cucumbers, and a few weeks later the other cucumbers will be ready to harvest. So you definitely don't need many tools to sow a few seeds in the garden, that's for darn sure. So I've got my hori knife where I'll make a little furrow here in the bed. I've got my seeds and I've got my tag. You're also going to notice I don't have any gloves on. I don't want to wear gloves today, but you know, if you do gloves, awesome. I just can't feel seeds and things with my fingers without gloves. So what I'm going to do is, I hope you can see this, and I'll try to zoom in on the camera. I'm going to move some of the straw away. I love using straw as mulch in my raised bed garden, and I also use shredded leaf mold that we make ourselves from all of our fallen leaves. But in this bed I've got straw, so I need to move a little bit of that away so I can see what I'm doing here. And let's take a look at the seed packet. Okay, I need to plant these seeds a ½ an inch deep, which is not deep at all. And they suggest placing 2 seeds every 12 inches. So I want to increase the probability that these are going to germinate well. So I am going to place 2 seeds side by side, but I am going to plant them every 6 inches. And then I will thin out whatever I think I need to in terms of if they all germinate. And the beauty of drip irrigation, which I have in all of my raised beds, is this particular 1/4 inch drip tubing has emitters every 6 inches. So I'm going to look for that, and that's where I'm going to place my seed. That's all there is to it. So I am just going to probably create a little bit of a furrow here, and funnily enough, I guess it must have rained again. We've had so much rain. We've had more rain this spring and early summer than we ever have that I can remember. So the soil isn't perfectly dry, and so I brought my watering can out here, but honestly, I don't know that I need to water them in because it's not wet. However, I might give them a little tiny drink because I want to just make sure that the soil is making complete contact with the seeds. So that's what I think I'll do on these seeds. So that is really all there is to it. So I'm going to try to bring the camera in really close so you can see where I'm placing the seed next to the drip line, and that's all there is to it. All right, cucumber seeds are going in, and I have to laugh. I just realized my top and this kneeling pad match perfectly. These are from Garden Answer. Do you watch Garden Answer? I do. Millions and millions of people do. I think she is probably one of the most popular YouTube gardeners. So inspirational. Of course, she gardens on a massive scale, but I can always learn things from her and apply it to my smaller space. So anyhow, little plug for Garden Answer. Not that they need my endorsement at all. Okay, so 2 seeds, and I'm doing it every 6 inches, ½ inch deep. That's the idea here. So I hope you guys can see how I'm doing this. And how do I know every 6 inches? Like I said earlier, I can just use my drip tape or drip tubing. It's actually tubing, not tape, to get an idea of 6 inches. So they're going to be 6 inches apart, just because I want to give myself a chance to make sure that germination works out nicely. And again, ½ inch deep, so that is not very deep, everybody. So I'm going to just barely cover these seeds and tap it down just a little bit, just gently, so that the seed is coming in contact nicely with the soil. I will not mulch this until these get up to be at least, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches tall, and they will absolutely grab on to this trellis and grow up, up, up. I want to say one more thing before we finish with the cucumbers and go on to the zucchini, and that is, again, why am I waiting till towards the end of June? Because there's a thing called the cucumber beetle, and if you guys grow cucumber, you know what I'm talking about. They love to decimate cucumbers. I have had so much trouble in the past getting them to leave my things alone. So hopefully, according to what other experienced gardeners grow cucumbers, they say that if you wait, the big rush of the insects, the cucumber beetles, it starts to wind down at this time of year. I guess they're really, really common earlier in the season. So let's see. It's an experiment. I'm going to take their advice and see what happens. All right, so I've got my plant tag in. I've got my cucumber seed in. I'll put the drip tape back over where I stuck them in the ground. And that is all there is to it. All right, my cucumbers are in. So let me show you where I'm going to be sowing my zucchini seed. Let's go around here. And they're going to go in this beautiful, tall, almost 30-inch raised bed that is a delight to grow in. Let me just tell you, no getting on your hands and knees in this bed. So this is where the zucchini is going. But before I get the seeds in the ground, I want to show you what's already growing in here. I love raised bed gardening because, I mean, there's so many reasons why I love it, but because you can do crop after crop after crop. When one thing's done, you can take this empty space and fill it with something else, and that's exactly what I did here. So early in the season, I sowed a whole bunch of spinach, lettuce, and cilantro seeds. So I had a beautiful crop of greens. Those are done. When things start to warm up in my Zone 6 garden, all that stuff wants to go to seed, and so I think I sowed all that stuff. Did I say early March? I can't remember. But anyways, we had a really, really good harvest of all those greens. They are done. But what's in here right now is basil. You know, I put herbs all throughout the garden. So I have holy basil on either end, and actually I need to come in here and pinch off the flowers. But I also use basil actually as filler for cut flower arrangements. Holy basil, I've got beautiful chives, I've got some lovely sage. I let some of my cilantro go to seed because the pollinators love this, and I think the flowers are so pretty. And then you're gonna see a couple of geraniums. Those of you that follow my videos know I love zonal geraniums, or pelargoniums, whatever the Brits call it. Anyways, zonal geraniums, the old style geraniums, and I grow them from seed. I had a whole ton of them in my greenhouse in one of my raised bed boxes, and I said, you know what, I'm done with those. I pulled them all out and I popped them all over the garden. So there's a couple of varieties here in the front that are white. I also have some nasturtiums. I started from seed, so that's in the front of the bed. The idea is my nasturtiums will grow up and then spill over this edge of the bed. What else? Oh, last but not least, snapdragons. I believe these are Madam Butterfly snapdragons, and I have a whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants. But I started by trying to grow these in a full tray. I think I sowed a 24 cell tray early in, I think it was like February, because they grow so slow. Yeah, and I ended up with 5 viable plants. So here they are, and I'm proud of them. I've never grown snapdragons. I really want to get good at it. So if you all have experience growing snapdragons, please leave me some comments. Tell me how you do it. Why can't I grow them? I don't know, but I would love to have this whole bed filled with snapdragons, but that was not to be this year. But at least I'm trying, so that's all you can do. Okay, enough about what's already in here. Let's get some zucchini seed in the ground. Zucchini plants get enormous, right? They get really big. One of the strategies I've seen other gardeners do, especially if they have a raised bed, a lot of times they'll sow their seed or plant their zucchini closer to the edge of the bed, because actually the center of the plant is where you're going to get all your fruit, but they put out giant leaves, big stems that reach. And so if your stems and leaves reach over the edge of the bed and spill over, that's great. But I've got, as you can see, stuff on the edges. So I am just going to plant 2 areas of zucchini, because literally they will fill this whole section up. Let's see here. It says group 2 to 3 seeds per mound. All right, a 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep. So I am just going to split the difference. I've got my drip tubing here, so I'm going to put 4 seed, instead of 2 or 3, just to make sure I get some germination, and then I'll pluck out anything that's not viable or that's not as strong. So I think here, and I think here is going to do it. I think that's where I'm going to put my seeds. So let me do that. Again, just like the cucumber, why am I doing this in June? Because experienced zucchini growers know and recommend waiting so that the threat of some of the worst kinds of critters and pests and diseases in the soil, supposedly if you wait, you'll have a better chance of avoiding a lot of that problem, because a lot of people have difficulties. You know, I garden, you guys know, in Missouri, in mid-Missouri, and we have extremely hot and humid summers. Our evenings do not cool off. So those of you that live in areas where it might be super hot during the day, but your plants get a rest at night because it truly does cool down, it doesn't happen here for sure in July and August. We stay hot and humid all night. So I'm jealous of you if you don't have that kind of environment, but I don't think there's a perfect environment for any of us to garden in. We all have to adapt to our own environments, and that's what I try to do as a gardener. Okay, so what did I say I was going to do? 4? Yeah, let's do 4. 4 per mound, and then, you know, I'll see if I can get the most viable ones. Gosh, these almost look like pumpkin seeds. They're nice and big to work with, so that should be pretty easy. I know it might be overkill, everybody, but you know what? I'm just giving myself some extra insurance that this is gonna work. All right, I'll pull the camera in real close so that you guys can see where I have placed the seed. Anybody out there that is tuning in to today's video and you have experience waiting till late June to plant your cucumbers and zucchinis, please leave some comments for the rest of us. Does this work? Has this worked? What are your other ideas for this? So, you know, I'm always willing to test out different methods, and that's what I'm doing this year. I'm gonna test out this idea and really hope that it works. I'm gonna put my plant tag right here in the middle, push it down, cover these up again, 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep, pat them in. And again, this soil is relatively moist, but I am gonna go grab my watering can and just give them a tiny little drink to settle the soil, so I make sure it makes good contact with my seeds. So now that we've got the zucchini and the cucumber seeds in the ground, I did promise you all that I would give you an update on my pinching experiment, my pinching project. I did a whole video not too long ago about how important it is for you to pinch certain plants so that you get more flowers, longer stems, but also a bigger harvest in things like tomatoes. So let's take a walk around the garden and I'm going to show you the results of how pinching really does make a difference. Of course, it's early morning, and so the beautiful sun is about there in the sky, and you're going to see some shadows, and I apologize for that, but I think you're going to be able to see enough of this that the pinching is going to convince you ought to pinch. What I didn't show in the video that I'm going to link below is pinching dahlias, because my dahlias weren't really growing much at that point. But let me come in and show you the results of pinching. If I get in really close, right here was the center stem of this dahlia, and I snapped that off, and as a result of me doing that, this dahlia now has put out 4 to 6 new stems, which means I'm going to get way more flowers. So you want to do that with your dahlias for sure, and it just absolutely makes the biggest difference. Here you can see it on this one. I pinched out this right here, and it stimulates the plant and says, hey, let's create more flowers and more stems. And so I've got new side shoots, more down here, and more coming up down here. So it is so worth it. All right, what else did I show you in the video that I pinched? Oh, let's go over here. So this is my bed with celosia right here in the front. This is a floret seed spun sugar. Oh, let me give you an example of when you pull out the main stem, you prune it out. Let me come in here real close. I'm going to show you. Do you see right here? I hope you can see that. That was the centermost part of the stem that I snapped off. And because I did that, look at how bushy this plant's getting and all of the flowers. It will make everything branch out, get bushy, get stronger, and you're going to get so many more flowers. So it absolutely makes a difference. Have I convinced you yet? Let's go over here. You do the same thing with zinnias. Let me see which one would be a good example. I think I'm going to move around because I'm trying to give you a good shot here, everybody, so you can see what I've done. All right, let's come in real close. This is one plant, but earlier this season, I snapped off right here. Let me come in real close, you can see it. When I did that and I took out the main center stem, it told the plant, oh my gosh, let's make more stems, let's make more flowers. And now, boom, I have 1, 2, 3 stems where I only had one before. Last thing I'll show you are my tomatoes. Now, you do you. If you don't remove suckers like I do, you don't have to. But I have found in my experience, when you remove suckers from your plants, when you do that type of pinching, it stimulates your tomatoes to produce more and more and more fruit. Let me see if I can get in here because I'm going to show you. This is a brand new little sucker right here. Do you see between this little thing? So I'm going to take that off. But I come out here at least once a week with my tomato plants and I remove the suckers, and that makes them branch out, get bushy, and produce more and more and more tomatoes. Everywhere you see flowers, that's going to produce fruit, and I could not be happier with how fast my tomatoes are growing. And the health of them, so far so good. You can see all these beautiful flowers there. And as always, interplanted with lots of basil and French marigolds. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today in my raised bed garden, where I got to show you how I like to wait until late June before I start sowing zucchini and cucumber plants. Doing that is supposed to help them avoid some of those late spring, early summer pests like cucumber beetle and some of the other things that love to destroy those plants. It also assures that the soil is nice and warm. Warm soil and warm temperatures for cucumbers and zucchini at least help with germination and help with rapid growth. And the other thing that waiting this time of year can do is oftentimes reduce the amount of fungal diseases and things that they are going to get from the soil. So anyhow, I'm feeling pretty good about this morning's project. There's not much more that I need to plant in my garden. I really am just about out of space, but that's great. Now the job is to tend to these beautiful flowers and herbs and vegetables so that I and my family can enjoy a wonderful harvest this year. So until next time, I'm going to wish everybody out there happy gardening.